Jack the Ripper, though historically based, his story lives as a legendary figure in London's dark folklore. In the foggy streets of Victorian London, a shadow moves silently, a whisper in the night known only as Jack the Ripper. Close your eyes and let the mist pull you into a tale of mystery, fear, and secrets that refuse to fade. This is a story whispered in silence, but heard deep in the dark. The year is 1888. London sleeps, but not quite. Beneath gaslit lanterns, the mist curls like ghostly fingers across the cobblestone alleys of Whitechapel. Shadows stretch long, as if whispering secrets from brick to brick. In this damp silence, only a few brave souls dare tread the streets. A lone carriage rattles by, its driver silent, eyes low. In a nearby alley, a cat hisses, then vanishes. And then, footsteps. Soft. Measured. Almost gentle. No words are spoken, yet the city holds its breath. For somewhere behind the veil of fog, a figure moves with calm certainty. Neither hurried nor hesitant. They call him many names. But in the deepest corners of fear, he is simply Jack. She wore a faded bonnet, tied just so. Her steps were soft, but quick, used to the rhythm of night. The hem of her dress gathered soot as she passed a broken lamppost, its light flickering like a dying breath. Her name was Annie. She'd been here before. The alleys knew her scent, rosewater, cheap gin, and the faint trace of fear. But tonight felt different. She paused near Hanbury Street. The silence wasn't normal. It was too perfect. Even the rats seemed to stay hidden. She clutched her shawl tighter. Behind her, a shape flickered, just for a moment, then melted into the fog. "Is someone there?" she asked softly. No reply. Only a breeze. Yet, in that breeze, there was a chill far deeper than weather. It whispered, not in words, but in weight. The weight of being watched. The lantern above her hissed, its light dimming with a tired sigh. Annie turned, slow, too slow. Nothing. Just the swirling fog and the echo of her own breath. She stepped forward. But the fog felt heavier now, as if it leaned in. The air grew damp, tight or watching. Then, a whisper of leather brushing brick. Not loud, but close. Closer than breath. Annie froze. In her ears, the heartbeat of the city, quiet and uneven. A coin clinked to the ground. She looked down, but saw only cobblestone. And behind her, a figure emerged. Not sudden. Not loud. Just there. A top hat. A long coat. Gloves, too clean. She gasped, but no scream came. Only the thrum of fear in her throat. He said nothing. He never did. He only stepped closer, as if the night had given him permission. Time didn't stop. It simply forgot to go on. The alley, the air, the world, all paused as if caught in a breath too afraid to exhale. Annie stood still, not by choice, but by something older than fear, something colder. Jack took another step. He did not rush. He never rushed. His presence was not frantic. It was ritual. His eyes, if one dared to meet them, were not wild. They were calm. Dead calm. The fog circled them like curtains drawn by invisible hands. A private stage. For an act rehearsed. Annie's lips parted, not for a scream, but perhaps to ask why. The answer never came. Only silence. Only steel. Only Jack. The rooftops watched, as they always did. Chimneys stood like silent guards. Too brittle to warn. Too old to care. Whitechapel held its breath. Somewhere, far off, a dog barked, then whimpered. A baby stirred in its cradle. A clock ticked, but skipped a beat. On the ground below, nothing moved. The fog drifted, but even it seemed onshore. Was it covering something? Or fleeing from it? The gas lamps flickered, casting shadows that reached where light never touched. Down there, beneath the world, something was being taken. Not just a life, a rhythm, a heartbeat, a piece of London, gone, or before it could even be missed. And Jack left no footprints, only absence. Morning arrived like a guilty whisper, soft, ashen, unwilling. A milkman turned the corner, his cart creaking beneath glass bottles. He slowed. There, near Hanbury Street, lay a stillness that didn't belong. It wasn't the stillness of sleep. It was the stillness of something missing. Of something wrong. He dropped the bottle. It shattered like the night had been pretending nothing happened, but couldn't keep the lie. Behind the fence, the alley was quiet. Too quiet. The mist curled around something it could not hide. Flesh. Limp. Drained of story. She lay there, as if gently placed. But the truth in her silence screamed louder than words. He stepped back, then ran. But the fog remained. And in it, a shape, just for a moment. Hat. Coat. Stillness. Gone before he could blink. The street filled slowly. Faces peeked from behind curtains, then vanished. Doors opened just a crack, just enough to let fear seep in. A constable arrived, hat in hand, eyes on shore. He knelt beside what the night had left behind, then stood too quickly, too stiffly. Others gathered. Not close. Not yet. They whispered. She worked Baker's Row, didn't she? A shame. Another one? No, it couldn't be. But it could. And it was. Someone breathed the word. Not a name, really. A shape. A shadow. Jack. The air flinched. No last name. No face. Just Jack. He'd become something more than a man. Less than a ghost. An echo you couldn't trace. A story the city couldn't stop telling itself. Detectives gathered, their boots slick with dew. Notebooks in hand. Faces drawn. Voices low. They measured. Mapped. Pointed. One tapped the blooded fence. Another lifted a cloth. They spoke in codes, in signs, in practiced tones. But their eyes betrayed them. They weren't solving. They were hoping. Hoping it was isolated. Hoping it was explainable. Hoping it wasn't him. But behind every theory stood silence. And behind that silence, a grin you couldn't see, but could feel. One inspector muttered, "Clean cuts. No struggle. Precise." Another said, "He knew what he was doing." Yet no one could agree on who he was. Was he a butcher? A doctor? A ghost in a coat? The city offered theories. Jack offered none. He left only puzzles. Pieces that didn't quite fit. Answers that didn't settle. He was there, but never present. Seen, but never described. Just a shadow, smiling somewhere behind the gaslight. The newspapers wasted no time. Whitechapel horror. Another woman found. Is the Ripper among us? The name took shape, not from evidence, but from ink. Jack the Ripper. Simple. Crude. Perfect. It rolled off tongues like ash, leaving an aftertaste of dread. And with every printed page, his legend spread beyond the fog. Mothers whispered warnings to their daughters. Men walked their wives home, eyes twitching at shadows. Tailors sold out of long coats. Top hats began to feel cursed. He became a bedtime threat, a reason to lock the door twice, a whisper in dreams, a creak in the hallway. Even those who'd never seen Whitechapel felt as if he might be standing just behind them, one breath away, because Jack no longer needed alleys. He had the world's imagination now, and it was a darker place because of him. Lanterns swung on iron hooks, casting golden pools on slick cobblestones. Patrols paced the streets, eyes sharp, hands never far from holstered revolvers. Voices called through alleys, challenging the shadows. But the shadows did not answer. Jack moved in the silence between words. In the pauses no one dared fill. The city's heartbeat quickened. Every creak became a warning. Every gust of wind a signal. But Jack? He was the stillness beneath the noise. The absence between footsteps. The light fort to hold back the dark. But some darkness is not so easily chased away. It lingers, patient, waiting for the moment when the light falters, when the city's breath slows. And then he moves. Days bled into nights, and nights into whispers. Detectives stared at maps, marked with red ink, trails that led to nowhere. Witnesses recounted shadows, faces blurred in fog. But no one caught him. Not the constables, not the doctors, not even the whispers in the dark. A name was all they had, Jack. A ghost story for grown men. Some said he'd fled. Others said he'd died. But none could say he was caught. And that was the cruelest truth. Jack was not a man anymore. He was a question, an ache, a riddle without an answer. The streets grew quieter. Not safer, just quieter. Because when the hunter disappears, the hunted are left with silence. And silence is the loudest scream. Years passed. Decades turned to centuries in whispers. London changed. New streets, new lights, new faces. But the story remained. Jack the Ripper became more than a man. He was a symbol of fear, mystery, and the darkness lurking just beyond the gaslight. Writers wrote of him. Playwrights performed. Detectives studied. And in every retelling, he was reborn. The coat, the hat, the shadow that glided without sound. An eternal spectre in the city's memory. He escaped time, not by running, but by becoming legend. Because some darkness can be caught, only told. And so, Jack walks still, not on the streets of Whitechapel, but in the stories whispered beneath the stars. The streets grew still. The nights grew colder. A fog settled in deeper, as if trying to hide secrets too heavy for the day. Though no more cries echoed, and no more shadows crept from alleyways, the city never forgot. The silence was not peace. It was waiting. A quiet that never truly came. Sometimes, when the wind shifts just right, and the gas lamps flicker, a whisper slips through the cracks. A soft, deliberate breath. A promise. Jack is still here. Watching. Waiting. In the dead of night. When the city's breath slows. And even the wind seems to listen. A voice stirs. Not loud, never loud. A murmur carried on the fog. Soft as silk, sharp as a blade. Jack. It slips through cracked windows. Threads through empty streets. Settles in restless dreams. Some say it's madness. Others, memory. But all who hear it feel the chill. The cold touch of a story unfinished. A warning that the past never truly fades. And some shadows never rest. The gas lamps flicker one last time. Before the dawn swallows the night. The city exhales, but the breath feels heavy. Laden with stories untold. Jack's footsteps have faded. Or perhaps they never truly left. An echo in the silence. A shadow at the edge of sight. His story is not just history, but a warning whispered through time. Some darkness lingers, waiting patiently to be remembered. So when the fog rolls in, and the night holds its secrets close, listen carefully, for in the quiet, Jack still walks. Listen closely. A soft tap on the cobblestone, barely louder than a heartbeat. The night wraps around each step, hushing the world to a breathless pause. No clamor, no rush, just the quiet rhythm of something unseen, moving nimbly through shadow and mist. A whisper of fabric brushing the wall. A faint metallic glint caught by the flickering gaslight. Signs of a presence both elusive and eternal. And as you breathe, the silence becomes a voice. telling stories the daylight forgets. The wind sighs softly, rustling through dry leaves scattered on the street. A distant clock chimes, each toll stretching into the cold air like a slow pulse. Footsteps echo faintly, not hurried, not panicked, but deliberate, measured. A faint creak of a door, a quiet scuff against stone. Every sound weaves a thread in the tapestry of the night, pulling tighter the fabric of fear and fascination. You can almost feel the eyes that watch unseen, the breath held just beyond the corner. And in the stillness, the story waits to be heard again. The air grows colder. A shadow flits just beyond your sight. You sense it there, watching, waiting. No breath to give it away, no sound to betray its steps. Yet you feel it, like a chill crawling down your spine, a whisper brushing past your ear. The night holds its secret close, and you're a part of it, whether you want to be or not. A presence that is both nowhere and everywhere. A shadow woven into the very fabric of the dark. The night hangs heavy, thick with anticipation. Every breath you take feels louder than it should. Every heartbeat a drum in the quiet. The fog swirls, hiding shapes that dance just beyond vision. You want to turn, to see what's there, but your feet are frozen, rooted in the cold stone. And in that moment, the silence breaks, not with a scream, but with the softest, most deliberate step. Closer. The fog swallows the street once more. The shadows blend and fade, as dawn tiptoes silently over the rooftops. No footsteps remain. No voices call out. Only the faintest whisper lingers. A breath on the back of your neck. A story unfinished. A secret waiting patiently. Jack is gone for now, but in the quiet spaces between moments, he walks still, waiting to be remembered, waiting to be whispered again. And as you close your eyes, listen closely, for the last whisper is never truly silent. And now, the streets fall silent once more. The gaslights dim, the fog thickens, and the echo of footsteps fades slowly into the folds of memory. Jack's tale, unresolved, unfinished, remains suspended in time, like a breath held just before sleep. You've wandered through Whitechapel's mist, stood in the hush between heartbeat and shadow, and listened to the whispers that history tried to bury. But tonight, you are safe. No shadows behind your window. No fog beneath your door. Only stillness. So rest now. Let the night cradle you gently. And if dreams come, may they pass softly, like mist over stone. And remember, some stories don't end. They wait until we dare to listen again. Thank you. Thank you.